Hey friends, welcome to Andy's Audio Crap, where we talk about audio gear in all of its glory. Today's gear are turntable mats, and I've seen lots of claims over the years of what turntable mats can do to improve your turntable, to take static away, to do all these magic things. And I was just interested in, do they really live up to the claim?
This video's sponsor is Andy's Audio Crap on eBay, where you'll find used parts, new old stock, kits, and occasionally gear. Thanks for your support.
First off, to save money, I recycled some platter mats from other players that I just happen to have laying around. This one is a latex platter mat. It's off of a modern Sony, and it has the Sony iconic little dots on it there. This one is a Classic Techniques. No, actually it's a Sansui. It's a D35 Sansui. This thing has some heft to it. It's pretty heavy, and it's just kind of flat. And versus the JVC that I have here, this one has all kinds of, like, I don't know, rings and just it looks like it should actually do a pretty good job at reducing vibration. So we'll see. Beyond those, I had bought this circle jig some years back, and I happened to have some leather sitting around. So I made my own leather platter mat. Turned out pretty good. And then I made a cardboard one. Still even got the shipping UPC, or I don't know, item number on it. And then why not make one out of bubble wrap? Because, you know, bubble wrap slows vibration down. And then I thought, well, you know, you could just use a second record, right? Like put your record on top of another record, and E-Man Groovin' happened to be the record setting on top. So that's, I'm gonna test Mr. E-Man. And then you have these hard plastic ones, which you know, essentially it's a record, right? We'll find out. And then we have felt. I wanted to see if there was any difference between just a regular old plain felt and a printed felt. And then here's a cork mat. I love these. I really like the way they look. I don't know if they do any good though. And then you have this Hi-Fi Hudson, which I use to set the time on turntables as I'm rigging them up. It's hard plastic too, but it has printing, which may help the record from slipping. And then last, I have this hybrid, which is leather and cork. And for the price I paid for this, it better do really well. I'm going to test these for you. I'm going to save you the money. Let's figure out which one is best.
First, let's talk about price. Top to bottom, at the top, essentially free mats. I'm made from scrap crap laying around the house. Next are cork, felt, and latex mats, commonly available from online retailers for around $8 to $10. Price is all over the board for acrylic mats, but I got mine for around $20. Leather, rubber, they're the last. They come in at north of $20. The first test is the ping pong ball test. The platter needs to be flat, level, so I use a bubble level to verify that. For this test, I use a brand new ping pong ball, dropped from 12 inches, and I measure the bounce. Theoretically, the less the bounce, the better the platter mat is at absorbing vibration. High dampening and low dampening platter mats have completely different characteristics in how they impact the sound. Some people will prefer one or the other, or somewhere in between. Look through this chart, you can kind of find what fits you, and then you can use that as a reference as we go through this test. Record, 4.5 inches. Cork, 3 inches. Felt, 3.75 inches. Bubble wrap, 2.25. Felt with a print, 4. Acrylic, 6. Leather, 5.5. Cardboard, 2.25. Latex, 6. Sansui, 8. JVC, 2. Leather and cork, 2.5. Printed acrylic, 5.75. For myself, I'm mostly interested in low bounce characteristics, so the JVC down to the cork are strong candidates, but let's see how the rest of the tests go. Alright folks, the next test is called the slip test. Since I don't do this every day, I'm not going to buy all the equipment to properly do this, so I'm going to use just what I have sitting around, which is a center weight for a turntable and a depth gauge. I use the depth gauge in my woodworking shop. It's a sprung depth gauge, so as it increases pressure or increases depth, it's increasing pressure. So we'll show you here in just a second. Just go with me on it, please. Take a moment to look over this outline. You'll find your preference in here, whether you like one that slips or doesn't slip, or need one that slips or doesn't slip. Note that if you do have a fragile tone arm, you probably want an easy slip. You'd be surprised how many newer turntables actually have pretty fragile tone arms. There's a lot of them out there. Use Google or like an AI chat to determine if your turntable has a fragile tone arm. Here you can see the sprung depth gauge does increase pressure as it graduates depth. The record alone makes 3. Cork makes it to an outstanding 9.5. Felt's pretty slippery, like a grease pig, makes it to 1. Amazingly, bubble wrap makes it to 6. The moon slips like gel at a high school. Plain acrylic makes it to 2. Leather holds on like a crazy ex-girlfriend, gets a 10. Cardboard slips like a politician at 1. Latex holds on for a 7. Sansui tugs for a 3.5. JVC holds for a 2. Leather and cork pulls for a 7. Printed acrylic slips pretty fast, gets a 1. For my listening, I'm going to prefer something that is less slick, so it holds onto the record pretty good. It means a 2 or more is probably going to be a good candidate for me. But jury's still out. Let's learn some more. Up next is platter mat weight. This is an important attribute. It provides many benefits depending on your listening. So your conditions, listening conditions, if you're a DJ, if you're a home audiophile listener. Anyways, you get the point. Use this chart to look up what your preferences might be, and at the top it indicates whether or not you're a heavy or light. If you're somewhere in between, that's fine too. Let's dig in. Record only. Cork. Felt. Bubble wrap. Printed felt. Acrylic. Leather. Cardboard. Latex. Sansui rubber. JVC rubber. Leather cork. Printed acrylic. So I use a variety of turntables for my home listening. I'm not a DJ, so it looks like a medium to heavyweight platter is best suited for my use. We can see here that we're starting to get enough information to help make a decision, and it looks like leather and cork are definitely contenders for my use, but we have a few additional topics to consider. Resonance resistance is really important to a turntable, and if a platter mat can help that, it's always a plus, right? So I really did want to test the resonance by using just kind of a stationary platter and a tone, say at like 60 hertz. But unfortunately, the moment that you set that platter down on the table, the vibration table, and then put a record on top or a platter mat and a record on top, they all start to vibrate at the same frequency pretty quick. And it's really, really hard to test with the equipment that I have access to if there's really any difference. So I decided to just abandon that effort. I tried 2 different methods. So here's a demonstration of what happens. You can see that the hum you hear is the table. It's vibrating.
It's the record
and then
only.
I put the tone arm down and you can immediately hear the resonance. And subjectively, I just couldn't tell a difference between any of the platter mats. There's just too much surface area contact, and everything starts to vibrate at the same frequency just too quick. I took another approach, was just using my phone as a vibration sensor, and it failed as well. So what's left, right, is just a subjective test. And so what I did is I took a record player that I know is not really super great at resisting resonance, and I put it on the table, the vibration table, and got the record Bolero. It starts out very, very quiet. You can hear a lot in that beginning section of Bolero. And so I played for the first minute, and I would just quickly turn up the vibration intensity. I'd do it a couple of times, and basically what you see here is the percent of the volume that I could get to before I could start hearing it through the speakers. Next, what we have is the static resistance. A spinning record in the right conditions can generate a lot of static electricity, and many platters claim that they can help with this or at least reduce its effect. I'm not going to debate whether they can or not. Logically, I'll just say that if the material itself is not treated or naturally static resistance, it's probably logically not going to meet that claim. But yeah, there are treatments you can add. I mean, obviously there's the anti-static stuff that you can spray on your clothing, and there's also the anti-static gun. There is just a dryer sheet too. I mean, they're treated with anti-static chemicals. So anyways, I'm just going to default and go to ANSI and ESD rather than just test this myself. So what you'll see here is a chart that number 1 is like awesome sauce. Like, it does a really good job on both fields that we're going to talk about here, and 10 is pretty much just bad sauce, right? It's no good. There's 2 measurements. The first one is how fast the material will build up a static charge, and the second one is how fast it will release a static charge. I also put some notes about the material so that you can refer to that and maybe get some rationale as to where we're coming from, or where ANSI and ESD are coming from on these measurements. But essentially, so you got rubber, cork, leather, and cardboard do a really good job. So for me, I hate hearing pops and clicks on a clean record. So anti-static all the way for me. It's really now time to conclude. There's just so many conditions to consider, and yours might be unique. So you may not fit into one of these 2 categories, but I'm going to talk about these 2 categories, right? You have home listening and really DJ. I am definitely in the first. So for home audio, cork, leather, they just take home the win. Rubber is a fast follow, so I think they were really on to something back in the good old days. All these vintage turntables usually have rubber platter mats. If I replace stuff, usually I replace it with cork, and because it's it's very, very cheap. You can get 3 of them for usually $12 on Amazon, and they look good, and they just do a really wonderful job all around. I do really like that leather and cork platter mat. I was not real sure when I first got it whether I was going to like it or not, but I really like it. So the worst for home listening use is going to end up being felt, which unfortunately is the most frequently used on entry-level turntables. You know, in the middle you have the acrylic and the latex, and honestly, if they're static treated, they might be pretty okay. Now, if you're a DJ, you may want to try cardboard. I don't know how leather cork ended up being at the top of the list, but maybe a DJ can put in the comments what they think, why they think it landed there. But it did, and it looks like overall, though, felt is almost perfect for DJs. Hey folks, thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe. Let me know if you like this type of video. If you have video ideas, please put them in the comments, and thanks for watching.